News.com, along with MMA commentator, the one and only Mike Finch, the Fight Game Podcast. We do return 2-week hiatus, a big week coming up. Mainly, this will be a UFC 193 preview. Ronda Rousey, Holm for the UFC Women's Bantamweight title. In the co-main event, Joanna Jedrzejczyk against Valerie Letourneau from the 70,000-seat Etihad Stadium in Melbourne, Australia. We'll break down the card in a little bit. Mike, what's going on, buddy? I missed your pretty face in 2 weeks, and you said you're fat and ugly. I don't think you're fat and ugly. You're skinny and handsome.
Whoa. I think you added the ugly, Steve. I don't know if I said ugly.
I wanted to make sure you were paying attention.
I think you might have tacked that one on there. But, no, I just competed in the North American Grappling Association's event in Chicago, men's expert division. I got third. I lost a match. But, what I was telling you before we went on, which you're referring to, is that I'm a little heavier than I usually compete at. And I got to be mindful of that. You got to compete at your right weight class. Conor McGregor might be the man at 145, but at 170, maybe not. So same thing with me. I usually fight at 170. I fought at 190 this weekend, and I lost one match because of it. So gotta make sure I'm cutting weight and dedicating myself to.
Now, what is this cat's name? What is his name? What's his name? I'm going to know his name because I want to find him on Facebook. I'm going to be like Ronda Rousey. I want to find him on Facebook, and then I want to kick his ass. So what is this guy's name?
The guy who won it all is Charlie Radke, a really nice guy and a good MMA fighter. Used to be a really a force to be reckoned with in the XFO, and also trained at Rufu Sport, did a lot of sparring with Anthony Pettis and a lot of sparring with some really good guys. So Charlie Radke won the whole thing in our division, and him and his brother Brian are both excellent athletes and both awesome jiu-jitsu competitors. They both competed. I want to say Brian competed at a weight class higher. So, but yeah, it's been a fun weekend, and I've been grinding just like you have. I mean, I've been keeping up with the Mike Finch Minute. We just promoted our first one, so there's a little YouTube series where I'm promoting the fights. I'm breaking down the fights. So I just been busy, man.
I loved your breakdown of the main event of this coming weekend's card. We'll talk about that in a moment, but I thought that breakdown was fantastic. And where can the fans find that, by the way, Mike?
Well, YouTube.com/Mike the number 2, and then Finch is where you can find those breakdowns. And this last card, have you ever seen they were interviewing all the people from the Expendables and Fast and Furious, and you know what I mean? They had all these A-list celebrities, who were breaking down the Ronda Rousey's fight, and the promos that they've cut up are really next level. And I'm really, really glad to see that the UFC is investing in Ronda Rousey the way that they should be.
No, I agree 100%. We'll get into that in a moment. Let's just quickly gloss over this past weekend's card out in Brazil. UFC Fight Night 77 in Sao Paulo. The main event, Dan Henderson, Vitor Belfort. Not a lot of action, but as soon as Vitor landed the first shot, it was over. A nice left high kick, couple ground and pound punches. The fight was over. And your thoughts on Vitor Belfort? It just seemed like this was tailor-made for Vitor to win this fight.
Well, my thoughts on the fight, first off, it started as a staring contest, but that sometimes happens with Dan Henderson fights. He doesn't like to use his jab very actively, and he doesn't really pick away at somebody. He's all about that home run shot, and so that's sort of what he was waiting for, which is unfortunate, actually, because I was hoping he would wrestle more in this fight. I think Dan Henderson is the better wrestler. Obviously, he wrestled, in the Olympics, did Greco-Roman, and that's his background. And, in his old age, you see guys like Randy Couture and countless wrestlers. They use their wrestling because that doesn't go away as fast as your timing with striking does. So, it was unfortunate to see that he wasn't necessarily aggressively pursuing the wrestling, and he paid for it. It was kind of a similar KO to the last fight, honestly. It was that high kick of Vitor, this time landing on the forehead. and, that rocked him just enough to get him out of there. Vitor is one of the best in the sport at blitzing when he has somebody hurt. If he has you hurt, he is coming right at you. He is throwing 100% power, and he's going to get you out of there. He's one of the best at it. I mean, if you look at a lot of Vitor's KOs, even the Luke Rockhold KO, which everybody thinks it was just the one kick, it was truly the follow-up punches. He gets you hurt, and he closes the deal, and we saw that old Vitor, Saturday night.
No, I couldn't agree more. And like you said, that's from the moment when he won the heavyweight tournament, through his time in Pride, fights in Affliction, return to the UFC. This is what we've seen from Vitor Belfort. You know the blueprint, but how do you stop the blueprint? He barraged Weidman. Weidman somehow survived. He really didn't. When he 99% of the time when he gets in that, he lands that whatever strike it is, he gets the barrage and it's done and over with. He closes the show. I thought he looked good. A lot of people were ragbagging him going into the fight. Well, much deserved, by the way. That's not like trying to kid ourselves here. This was well deserved. There's no one to blame for that TRT situation, steroid situation, but himself. Declining interviews. Declined one with me. I had an interview scheduled. That interview went out the wayside. I was pretty pissed about that one. But you know what? It happens. I moved on. But what do you now do with Vitor? He's angling for a fight with Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold's got Chris Weidman coming up next month. What do you do now with Vitor Belfort?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, Vitor Belfort certainly did look, the best he has off TRT, obviously, so far. The Chris Weidman fight was the only sample we got, and Vitor Belfort's wrestling and jiu-jitsu were almost non-existent in that fight. Kind of weird to see because he had Chris Weidman in half guard, I think quarter guard for a moment, and just didn't really use any of his defensive jiu-jitsu in that fight. Of course, his wrestling was exposed in that fight as well, but it's more so that Chris Weidman's going to be, out wrestling everybody at 185 pounds, perhaps unless you're Luke Rockhold or Yoel Romero. But I mean, I think that Vitor Belfort is a force to be reckoned with still, and I think he's a top 10 185-pound fighter, and I'm, excited to see him back in the mix. I think they should throw him in there with some of the younger guys. I also think that a Lyoto Machida and Vitor Belfort fight would make a lot of sense. So there are cool matchups for Vitor. He's a really exciting fighter, and, he is one of those guys who has some. I can't say the same about Dan Henderson. When John Anik chose not to ask Dan Henderson about retirement, that actually surprised me because, he just got knocked down in the first round by Vitor. He's won one fight in his past, maybe 5 fights, I would say. He's really, really been on a skid. And, the only fight where he truly looked like he could be top 5 in the division again was that Tim Boach fight. And, obviously we saw Saturday that Vitor Belfort, can put him away even quicker than last time. So I don't want to see Dan Henderson fight anymore. And this is coming from one of the biggest Dan Henderson fans. I love Dan Henderson. He's been my profile picture ever since I've interviewed him. He's the man. I think that he's one of the, legends of the sport, one of the true pioneers and legends of the sport. And he's accomplished things that no other MMA fighter has accomplished as far as doing a lot in Pride and then also doing a lot in the UFC. Obviously, he never won the title, but he went to a split decision with Rampage, which was the title unification bout, and then they got an immediate title shot. So, I want to see Dan Henderson go out, on this fight. Maybe he wants to come back and get a win, but nothing's guaranteed in this sport, and there's so many killers in the 185-pound and 205-pound divisions. I don't think it's worth it for him to continue.
No, I mean, I love that idea with Vitor. Him and Machida, I would love that fight. That would be a pretty awesome fight. You do that in Brazil. UFC's going back to Brazil. They announced the day before my birthday, March the 6th. So a happy birthday to me. I get to sit at home and cover a UFC show. So, but no, I thank them for that. But no, I love that fight. I think that would be a good co-headliner on that card. So I love that idea. Regarding Dan, I brought that up last week when I talked to him, and he was lukewarm to the idea. he was like, I got another fight on my contract. I really don't know. I agree with you, though. There's nothing else for him to do. What else is there? You're two-time Pride Division champion. Simultaneously, you held 2 belts at the same time in 2 different weight classes. Never been done in mixed martial arts, holding 2 belts at the same time. Mm-hmm. Then you Strikeforce light heavyweight champion. Numerous main events in Pride, Strikeforce, UFC. You face the who's who in mixed martial arts. There's nothing, like you said, he's beaten some of the greats. What else does he need to do? There's nothing else for Dan Henderson to prove in mixed martial arts except make money. How much money do you really need? Is it really worth battering your brain in and getting knocked out again? Is it really worth it? Mm-hmm. He's 2-3 in his last 5. I don't think it's worth it anymore. I agree with you. I think it's time to step away, but that's up to Dan. Maybe he wants to finish that fight out. I wouldn't be a fan of it, but I also wouldn't be this staunch, like, you can't fight. We're going to ban you from fighting. If he wants to finish it out, so be it. Tell the UFC, hey, I want this last one. I'm done. I think the UFC will give it to him. Co-main event, I thought a good fight for as long as it lasted. Glover Teixeira, Patrick Cummins. Glover Teixeira with the win. And Cummins had his moments, but you could tell his striking isn't where it needs to be, and Glover Teixeira took advantage. And I thought, and a very good win for Glover Teixeira.
Absolutely. No, Glover looked great, and the only issue with Glover's performance was his takedown defense. He was getting taken down by Patrick Cummins. The most impressive thing, perhaps, about his performance was how quickly he could get back to the feet. Patrick Cummins wasn't even, like, inside his guard. He was all the way inside control or, in dominant positions, and Glover Teixeira was able to explode back to his feet. That shows me a lot about Glover, and that's what we needed to see against Phil Davis, and he didn't have that sort of pop. And if you really look at it, he looked fat in that fight. He didn't look he didn't look as explosive as he usually does, and his cardio wasn't there like it usually is. So we saw the full form of Glover Teixeira on Saturday. And Patrick Cummins is a game opponent. He's one of the best wrestlers, obviously, in the division. But, if your game plan was to stick to him and take him down, he was doing his best. It was more so Glover's ability to stop that. Glover's a competitive grappler, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and a really, really, really excellent Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. So he showed his skills in that area, and, he's moving right back up to the top of the division. He is one of the sleepers. There aren't thousands of Glover Teixeira fans, but there should be, because this guy really is a winner, and when he's in shape and ready to go, he is one of the best fighters on planet Earth. And I'm looking out for a few great Glover Teixeira performances coming up here. If they choose to give him Alexander Gustafsson next, how cool would that be?
He looked awesome here. Like, you were spot on in the breakdown of the fight, and you think he's the last guy to beat Ryan Bader. Went 5 rounds with John Jones, was on a 20-fight winning streak. This guy is great. He's a great fighter. Like you said, he's got good wrestling. He got to take it down. Patrick Cummins is an awesome wrestler. That's a testament to Patrick Cummins. I give Patrick a lot of credit for that. And he went 5 rounds with Johnny Bones Jones. When Jones was right on top, he was on top as world champion. Like you said, he's in the mix. I want to see that Gustafsson fight. I think that fight makes a lot of sense. That you can make the case, regardless, make of it what you will. Like, you could say the winner of that fight can face the winner of Jones Cormier. If not Bader Rumble, I forgot about Bader and Rumble Johnson. You make that fight.
That's what I would say.
Then you put Glover and Gustafsson. That's another key light heavyweight fight. So I would make that. I wouldn't make it for maybe the end of January. It's maybe a little too soon for Glover, but maybe the next Fox show, I would maybe make that fight for, maybe even the Brazil show coming up on March the 6th out in Rio de Janeiro. So a great win for Teixeira, step down for Cummins. You want to talk about Thomas Almeida. Holy Christ, is this kid awesome. 20-0.
Striking is good.
19 wins 19 of those 20 wins by stoppage. That's a pretty good 95% finishing rate. It's really not too bad, if I say so myself. And first round KO over Anthony Burchak, and I think it's time. You got to give this kid a solid guy now.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, he deserves it. I mean, he is one of the top guys in his division. He is really showing it. He's obviously got mad killer instinct. You were just reading his stat how he's finished all but one of his fights. I mean, that is unheard of in professional MMA. That is, you know, that is some Ronda Rousey stuff right there. That is awesome. And I think that he is one of the young stars. You know, he is so accurate, so fast, so clean. And, you know, he's one of the best young Brazilian fighters there are in the sport.
Man, but what do you do with them? Now this is the question. Aljamain Sterling's in a fight coming up. Uriah Faber's in a fight coming up. You got Cruz and Dillashaw coming up. Barrow's going to 45. Michael McDonald now, he's got a fight coming up at UFC 195. What do you do with him? Maybe him and Brian Caraway, I think, is an intriguing fight. They're right there. Almeida 6, Caraway at 7.
Yeah.
Maybe John Lineker. I think that could be a fight. Eddie Wineland. I think that would be an intriguing fight. It's now time to put him in there against studs.
Yeah.
So let's see how good this kid is. He's got the charisma, and he's got the one thing fans love, the killer instinct. When he goes out and he goes out to finish. He does, like you said about Ronda. He doesn't get paid by the hour. He gets paid by the fight.
Right.
That's what that kid does. A kid's a beast. He is an absolute monster. You know what I wouldn't mind? Faber's got a fight coming up. Thomas Almeida, Uriah Faber. Holy shit, would that be? I'm booking fights right now. Sean Shelby, Joe Silva, call me up. I'll book some fights for you.
That would be phenomenal. No,
Book it.
We're over here helping him out. I hope they're tuning in. No, I mean he's one of the young rising stars. He deserves it. He deserves a big fight like that. At least in Eddie Wineland. At least in Brian Caraway. Smoke those guys. A lot of respect to those guys. You know, those are awesome fighters. Eddie Wineland, of course, not too far from us, so you know, respect to him. But I mean, Thomas Almeida is the man right now in that weight class to watch out for, and he's gonna be some serious trouble, and he could be challenging for a title in 2016. In fact, I would bet that he challenges for a title in 2016.
Ooh, stop it! Look at throwing predictions.
I mean, I would. This is what's interesting about somebody who finishes fights like that. They don't risk as much as somebody who goes to a decision, and this is why. When you fight to a decision, you risk all that 15 minutes. So you're getting in those hot exchanges, and you have to continually risk your chin and risk your neck for chokes, and risk your arm and risk your leg for submissions. The longer the fight goes on, when you got guys like Conor McGregor, when you got girls like Ronda Rousey, when you got guys like Thomas Almeida who get the fight over with in the first couple minutes, they don't risk anything else. They go out there, they get the job done, they're healthy, they didn't get banged up from a war, they didn't have a bad third round, they don't have to risk any of that stuff. They get the fight over with, and that is a spectacular sign. Thomas Almeida finishes fights. I think that's a huge key today in the UFC, and you know he's got that aggression and he's got that accuracy and smarts. He's not in there banging. He's not in there having Vanderlei Silva fights and just trying to risk his chin. He's a great striker. So yeah, I got nothing but great things to say about the kid.
I just love that shoot box style. It reminds me of a young Shogun. It really, you look at him, he to me reminds me in watching some of Shogun, who his old fights. That's who this kid reminds me of. It's a 135-pound version of Shogun, who that shoot box background, like you said, picks his spots. He doesn't want. Shogun's been in a lot of wars. His career's going on, but you look at the early days of Shogun, that was the style. It was pick your spots. Get in the clinch, throw your knees, throw your shots, take the fight to the ground if need be, get the submission. This kid's lethal. This kid is an assassin.
Oh, yeah.
This kid, like you said, I agree with you. I think in 2016, this kid will be fighting for the world championship. He's already number 6. The way he's risen up, it's either going to be him or Aljamain Sterling. Those are the two cats. This is now becoming, you got Dillashaw, you got Cruz. You got Almeida, like you said, we brought up Caraway. You got Sterling. You got the old man Faber still there. You got rising guys like, we talked about Brian Caraway. This division is more stacked than people want to give it credit for. Lineker made a lot of noise in his last fight. Johnny Eduardo. You got the veteran like Mizugaki. Michael McDonald is returning in a few months. 135. Looking good. Bunch of young studs mixed in with the veterans. That's why this is a very intriguing weight class. And it's either Almeida or Sterling will be world champion in 2016. I definitely agree with that.
I agree. And, overall with that card, it was a great Brazil card. Obviously, the Brazilian fans get so behind their fighters. I really think it pumps them up. In the post-fight press conference, I was also watching the way Victor Belfort was going through how he was feeling when he was stage, listening to Thomas Almeida fight, listening to I think that, the Brazilian crowd is perhaps the most behind their athletes out of any crowd. Would you agree?
Oh, God. Night and day. I've been saying this ever since they went back to Brazil. You watch and you just listen to their excitement.
Yeah.
Most of their shows sell out. These fans, it's the UFC smart. They're going to put they're putting Brazilian fighters in the main events. Very, just intelligently a great move. And these fans are showing up. They're active. They're chanting. They love their fighters. They boo the Americans. They're into it. That's why I wish we would see more here in the United States. Just don't go to the MMA show and sit on your hands. If I'm paying money, this is like any sporting event you go to, rather fighting, baseball, basketball, football,
right?
Hockey. I'm there. I'm paying my money. I'm going to cheer. I'm going to boo. You're not paying me to sit on my hands. I'm not paying. It's ridiculous.
Like the booers. I cannot stand the people that boo. I'm down with the cheers.
Oh, come on.
I've never booed.
It's a sport. You got to boo.
I've never been in. I've never booed. I booed a referee one time because he deserved it. Besides that, I have never booed a professional MMA fight. These guys are in a cage fighting each other. If that's not exciting enough for you, go back to watching baseball, I guess.
And you know what the weird thing was about this? And you look at that, I was telling you, me and you were talking about this before we came on. They got outdrawn by Bellator. If you want to look at it, Bellator drew 814,000 viewers, and this show did averaged 757,000 viewers.
Dang.
But the weird thing about it is though, Spike is in 8 million more homes on Fox Sports 1. If you just look at that, you can nod to the UFC. If you're in 8 million more homes and you only got outdrawn by 57,000,
right?
We got to look at this total. You had the big football game with LSU and Alabama did 10.6 million. You had the boxing fight with Brandon Rios and Tim Bradley that peaked at the main event for 910,000. But the peak rating for Bellator was the Bobby Lashley James Thompson fight, a little bit over 1 million. The peak for the prelims did 609, which with Clay Guida and Gleison Tebow. It's a win for Bellator, but it isn't a win that I would be very proud of, considering you're in 8 million more homes. And you had 2 title fights, and Bobby Lashley, James Thompson, and it's 2 fights that they announced. Kimbo Slice, Stada 5,000, and unfortunately Ken Shamrock and Royce Gracie.
Sorry, you were breaking up a little there, Steve. I definitely heard the Shamrock and Gracie fight.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this? By the way, we'll get right into it. Dada 5,000, Kimbo Slice, Ken Shamrock, Royce Gracie 3.
Man. Oh, wow. They're really going in the retirement home to find these guys. Yeah. When I first saw that poster, I thought it was a joke. I thought, okay, they had the Ken Shamrock Kimbo fight. They've had some questionable matchups. Like, this is a joke. People are, it's worth the laugh. A couple people shared it. I didn't know that this was actually happening. To get Gracie out of retirement for as long as he has been in retirement, to come back and fight for money, I agree. Is just it's almost wrong, it's almost I'm really not a fan. I'm really not a fan of it, and I got a lot of respect for Bellator. I'm happy that they they did well this past. I really understand a lot of their fighters are really quality. They got Ill Will Brooks representing the XFO, former XFO fighter, killing it out there. Daniel Strauss representing the XFO, killing it out there. You know, I'm a big fan of a lot of their fighters. I am not a big fan of Dada 5000 and Ken Shamrock in his 50s and Hoist Gracie in his 50s. So, you know, it's not worth watching to me, you know, to you know, see these guys compete because they're just shells of their former selves. You know, I don't understand. It's like having Brett Favre get back on the field. Like, yeah, it would be cool, but like, you know, what is he? He probably can't even compete with the college kids at this point. I don't mean to offend any well, I guess the Packer fans, some of them anymore, right? That's what I was going to say. But, you know, I don't mean to offend any Brett Favre fans. What I'm saying is,
yeah, you do.
Guys are too old. This is clearly a long stretch that they're trying to make to, you know, get those viewers in and to get the old school MMA fan base as well as some of the new school who are just learning about the sport to watch these fights. Respect to them. I don't agree. I don't agree with it. What do you think, Steve?
Initially, man, I was pretty mad. I was talking to my editor at Sporting News, and we were sending some texts, and I'm like, I think I heard a rumbling Wednesday that this was going to be the fight. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. And then watching it made me hate it more. And then Kimbo and Dada 5000. It's like, oh, no. But then I sat and thought about it for a couple days, and you know what? It's not the worst idea. I understand the concept. Like, the great point you brought up, Mike, trying to bring in that new viewer. These guys put MMA on the map. I mean, I can't sit here and lie and tell stories. I'm not going to fabricate the truth. They did, whether we like it or not. Unfortunately, you know, yes, the last fought 22 years ago. By the time they fight, it'll be 20 years. It'll be a little bit over 20 years since they fought each other. Yeah, okay, but I'm gonna watch. I get paid to watch, even if I wasn't getting paid to watch. Still watch.
Yeah.
Two legends. I understand the premise of Bellator, and anytime Kimbo Slice fights, I just want to watch. I don't know why.
Agreed.
I don't know why. My editor at Sporting News didn't understand either. Our numbers proved that he is still viable.
Yeah.
And just being there that week, you know, just that aura he has. I don't know why he still does. He's just one of those athletes and one of those fighters that just everyone's drawn to. There's no rhyme. There's no reason. It is what it is. Whether we like it or not, he's a draw. He's a star. He's one of the biggest stars in the sport.
Mm.
When you want to, numbers prove everything. Right?
For outside reasons. He didn't get big.
It doesn't matter to him. It doesn't matter.
In YouTube fights. The same thing with Dada 5000, little documentary on him or whatever.
The documentary was actually pretty solid.
Yeah, good.
Shockingly. I watched it because I talked to him before that, and I didn't know much about him. And then after doing my research, I'm like, they're kind of understanding the backstory here. But Bellator did make a mistake. They did make one. This is not taking place in Miami. This is where the whole backstory is from with these guys. You put this fight in Miami.
Yeah.
This sells out in Miami.
Okay.
You want to put it at the American Airlines Center, you're going to probably get, for what they would configure it for, probably 12, 13,000. This would sell out in Miami. This is not going to sell out in Houston. Houston's a great MMA crowd. Don't get me wrong. One of the best MMA crowds and one of the best loyal fan bases in the United States. But this isn't going to sell out in Houston, Texas. I'm telling you right now. If they crack more than Houston did, I think paid was a little bit under 7,000. It was like 6,800 or 6,900. If it gets that, this is a victory for Bellator in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But the ratings are going to deliver. This will deliver.
Probably. I mean, is the competition in the cage world class? No. But did they? I guess not. I just want this was my complaint on a previous podcast, and it still is. When they bring these fighters in, they're getting the viewers. I want them to take those viewers now and show them that they're exciting champions. Bring them into the Bellator story better. Because what I think they do is they really focus on these guys. They're going to focus on Fedor Emelianenko. They're going to focus on the superstars. Great. But they need the people to stick around because these fighters are not. Fedor's not. Kimbo's not. Donna 5000's not. Ken Shamrock and Royce Gracie certainly are not. Right? So they need to keep these fans around, and I want to see them do a better job marketing their, legitimately world-class fighters properly under the freak show fights.
But you kind of look at it, and they kind of are. If you look at the rating, it was the third best rating they did this year. And it did better than the Dynamite show. The show you heavily hyped in. I think that shows that people are into guys like Bobby Lashley. I think putting Lashley on cards like that has helped Bobby Lashley. It's helped Will Brooks. They had a good rating for the Will Brooks fight. Even though I thought Will Brooks kind of shit the bed in a way, when I watched it and then hearing what happened after that, I give Will Brooks a lot of credit for gutting it out for 4 more rounds. Give him a lot of credit for that. And then you had a really good main event. So with Daniel Strauss winning the title against Pitbull, it's building the Strausses. It's building the Brookses. I think they're doing it the right way. Now, the question is, will Will Brooks be on the next show?
Told you, son, Strauss.
What's it?
I was yelling at you that I had the Daniel Strauss pick right, and you
did. You did. I heard you. See, I try to go right through you when you say that. I don't like to be wrong. I would tunnel vision.
We're breaking up a little bit. It's making it a little difficult.
No, I heard you. No, I just went right through you. I don't like hearing that I'm wrong.
I mean, you're a man, so
Thanks. You sound like my wife. You probably heard me say that, and I'm sorry. But no, it was. I thought but now the question is, what do you put on this show? I think you put Lashley back on. I'd like to see a title fight. Maybe a Strauss title defense. Well, we won't see Strauss. He shattered his hand. But maybe Will Brooks fights next. As long as that injury isn't too bad, put Will right back in there. He wants to be a star.
Yeah.
But I was disappointed in the promo, and this is why. He did all this chirping. I want to be a star. I want to be this. I want to be that. Well, where the hell was it in your promo? You got the mic. You got the world watching.
Right.
You shit the bed. Plain and simple. I love Will. He's a great fighter, one of the best lightweights in the world.
Yeah.
But you chirp and chirp and chirp and chirp, and you give me a shitty promo. And that's why you got to be able to cut a promo.
This is the reason why I think Will Brooks deserves more stardom. First off,
tell me why. I want to hear this.
His performances. I mean, period. His performances, the level of athlete he is. But the real reason, as far as we understand, being members of the media, you and I, Steve, the Pitbull attacking him, the Pitbull brothers attacking him before his fight should have been national news. That should have been on Fox. That is huge. A professional athlete was attacked before he competed. The Bellator should have been able to blow that up better. A lot of the Conor McGregor fans and the people who check MMA Junkie once a week, they do not know that happened. You know what? One article about it is not enough. It's big news. The same thing happened with Bellator when they had that Dynamite card that you were just speaking of that had lower ratings based on how stacked it was. The larger MMA community is just not paying attention, and it's sad to see. And, I think that's Bellator's major hurdle. Excuse me. That's Bellator's major hurdle next is getting the attention of the entire community, because it is so centered around the UFC that even events as big as Will Brooks getting attacked and he still fought, it was hardly covered.
That's on the fault of their PR team. And they didn't even contact me. They didn't contact me for any interviews for the show. Not one. I think they not a one. I reached out to him. I wanted to talk to Will Brooks. I got Will's personal number, but Will never got Will to get back to me. It was kind of close to the fight, and that was on my end. But, you know, that's on their PR team. At the end of the day, it really is. That should have been a big story. Like you said, I agree. A story like that, world champions getting involved in a brawl inside the hotel.
Exactly.
Bellator had the tape. They didn't choose to release the tape. That is on Bellator.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it is. I've been a little disappointed with their PR team. I really have been. And like Dynamite should have been a bigger show than it was. Only the hardcores really knew about this show. You got 2 title fights, a proven ratings draw on Bobby Lashley, hometown kid of Mike Chandler, one of the best lightweights in the world, former world champion, you know, and just an overall a great guy, you know, and a very good first fight, Justin Lawrence and Emmanuel Sanchez. Really great fights. Get these guys out there. I want to hear about it. I want to hear the stories. But that, at the end of the day, is on Bellator's PR. We've talked too much, Bellator. This is the UFC weekend, UFC 193, the 70,000-seat Etihad Stadium in Melbourne, Australia, live and only on pay-per-view, headlined by 2 women's title fights. The main event, we talked about it earlier, the one and only Ronda Rousey against Holm, and in the co-main for the women's strawweight title, Joanna Jedrzejczyk against Valerie Letourneau. I finally got my Jedrzejczyk down. After talking to her, I got it down. Right. And she was proud of me, and she remembered. She's like, "You finally got the name right, Steve." I'm like, the first 2 interviews, I butchered it like no one's business, and I made her a promise. I practiced hard. I said it correctly. But just the historical significance, and I asked Letourneau this question yesterday. Just the fact, Mike, this is not even, don't take out the fact it's in the stadium, but 2 women's fights headlining a pay-per-view, to me, is a big accomplishment for mixed martial arts.
Absolutely. No, it really is. It really is. And it really shows you, how much confidence the UFC has in Ronda Rousey as a star. And, of course, Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Joanna Jedrzejczyk doesn't have the star power that Ronda Rousey has, but she damn well has the skills. I mean, she is one of my favorite fighters, honestly, to watch. If you're a fight fan, you like watching Joanna Jedrzejczyk and her art. Destruction. Now, they also have Mark Hunt and Bigfoot Sagudi, obviously. The way she knocked out Betch Kohea, I mean, the build-up to that fight was phenomenal, and then she KOs her in 30-some seconds. Man, it really, really sets up this next fight, and she really, really has a following. I was in a sports bar in Kenosha watching that last Ronda Rousey fight, and I could tell the amount of people who were there who don't normally watch MMA and how blown away they were. And I know those people will be back for this Holm fight. So the UFC is truly transcending the sport of MMA with this, the Ronda Rousey hype that she does deserve, even though a lot of MMA fans don't think so. And I think they're promoting her the right way. So this is just a lot of right moves on the UFC's part, and hopefully they can sell the place out. I'm not sure if they have yet. Last rumor I heard was they did not yet, but hopefully they do end up selling it out, because that would be another feather in their cap. Now, the card's going to be great. I think that Joanna Jedrzejczyk is going to destroy, and I think the Mark Hunt and Bigfoot Silva fight is going to be freaking awesome. So leading up to the Ronda Rousey fight, I think they made a perfect card. And yeah, I love the choice of having the women co-main and the women main event, because a lot of women are getting behind this. My mom is. I think that it's going to be an awesome event. Well, how do you see the Mark Hunt and Bigfoot Silva fight going down?
I like how you brought your mom into this. I like it.
I'm keeping it real. She bought one Ronda Rousey fight before.
Okay.
And yeah, she's back into it. So, I mean, you know what I mean? My girlfriend's interested in watching the fight. It's the first time my gym is going to a bar and they're like co-hosting the fight. So, I mean, people underestimate the size of this card and also the size of Ronda Rousey's stardom. I think, 5 years from now, looking back, they'll understand. It's too bad that a lot of MMA fans want to be negative about all of the media that Ronda Rousey is receiving, because it's good for the sport, you know, and it's good for an exciting fighter. Ronda doesn't go out there and Floyd Mayweather people. She's done something that no other combat sports champion has ever done. No combat sports champion has ever. Did I lose you, Steve?
No, I'm here. I'm listening.
So yeah, I think that Ronda Rousey is, you know, a little hated from some of the MMA community, but you know, she's playing that villain role for them, and she's going to keep going out there and smashing, even though I think Holly Holm is about to give her her best fight she's ever had.
Just you look at this, and man, your points are awesome. You know, there's nothing to dispute. You know, there's really not. And you look at the reach she has, and you know, I've told you this, and you've liked some of the stuff, you know, that I posted on Facebook, and we were discussing at Sporting News about just getting ready for this fight and this card in general. And we started discussing this right when the fight was announced, right when they named Holly Holm the opponent. I was right on it. I was able to get an exclusive with Holly, and then we started brainstorming, and they wanted to do this 30 days of Ronda. I'm like, man, I don't know. This may be too much. And I don't think it has, you know. We covered a lot of the fighting stuff, maybe a little bit of the outside stuff that's going on, but a lot of the other major sites are doing the same thing as well. And just like you said, the reach she has, she's in a whole nother other stratosphere. Plain and simple. She eclipses anything that's happened in this sport. Bigger than Brock Lesnar, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, bigger than Dana White, George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, you name them, Mike. This lady's on another level. She just is. And I remember the first time I talked to her, and this was before the first Miesha Tate fight. And it was about a 15-minute conversation. Get off the phone, talk to because this is when UFC was owning Strikeforce, and one of the Zuffa guys contacted me. We were talking, and I'm like, she's like, man, she loved the interview. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, this chick's awesome. I'm like, I love this chick. She doesn't cater. She plays at the beat of her own drummer. I love that about her. Will it bite her in the ass eventually? Time will tell. But if you look at her numbers, she's beyond already Mayweather. You look at site numbers. You know, you look at articles and podcasts and YouTube videos, and you know, and you just gauge. She's doing Sports Center, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, The Body on the covers of those magazines, and
oh yeah.
This chick's she's just on it. I'm sorry I'm saying chick for all the women. I don't want to offend any women.
Kid, we call men kid. We could say.
But she's
a badass chick.
She is badass to another level. And, you know, my wife, I gotta bless this woman. You know, she watches enough boxing, MMA for a lifetime. And the only time I can get her intrigued is a Ronda Rousey fight. We were sitting there yesterday. We came back from dinner. We had to go to a wake. Then we went to to dinner with my in-laws, and we're watching TV. Watch Chicago Fire, great show, by the way. I love that show. And we were talking just about we were maybe going to go away this past weekend, and she's like, "It's fight weekend." I'm like, I didn't. I kind of in my mind. I'm like, I didn't say nothing. I'm like, no, it is. And I'm thinking about it now. You bring it up, talking about your mom and your girlfriend, and
right.
When you get the females, and this is who she draws to. When you have females saying it's a fight weekend,
yeah,
Ronda's fighting, every girl I talk to, Rowdy Ronda. That's what she's called. It's the magnitude, the reach she has, the women, little girls, you know, little boys, you know, the children, you know, and she's got that reach where a Lesnar doesn't, a GSP and Anderson Silva. It's absolutely amazing that a combat sports athlete has the reach that she does. Tyson didn't have it. Mayweather doesn't have it. Pacquiao doesn't have it. This chick is just seriously, she is the biggest combat sports athlete I think we will ever, as of right now, we will ever see. Could there be one down the line? Of course. But as of right now, today, it's her and everybody else is down below in movies, commercials. Mike, she's absolutely amazing. And she goes out there and kicks ass and takes names to boot. And she's good looking. And she's got charisma and a personality, and not that everybody has. And she's an ass kicker, like you said. So I'm amazed every time I see this chick in the cage and anything I read regarding Ronda Rousey.
Absolutely. Now, the UFC made a really, really smart decision when they first grabbed her from Strikeforce. They saw the way that Strikeforce was promoting her. Beautiful Ronda Rousey with beautiful Miesha Tate. They had them in dresses, and it was a totally different style of fight promotion. I think the UFC saw that, and a light went off in their head like, yes, this is how we transcend our market. And that's what they ended up doing is they grabbed her, and she was, she continued to get better. And, the UFC's marketing and the UFC's size continued to grow. So it was just the perfect timing and the perfect storm. Now, remember that Dana White used to say that women would never fight in the UFC. A big part of that is because it wasn't that marketable. It was hard to market female champions. It was hard to find female divisions that were deep and had a lot of competitors. And now, look at what's happened. They sell the company. Marketing of the female fighter is going to become, or is already perhaps, the #1 star at mixed martial arts has ever seen. So what a turning of tables, right? What a different perspective they see it in now that Ronda Rousey, a female champion, is their superstar. And by the way, a very underrated division. Many, many killers in the female 135-pound division. The most stacked female division in women's mixed martial arts ever.
I agree.
Ever. People want to say that her division is weak and that Ronda just sits on top of the mountain and there's no real challengers. She has nonstop competed with the best female athletes in the sport, of course, barring a woman in another weight class, Cyborg Santos. I mean, it's really, really been remarkable what both Ronda Rousey has done and what the UFC has been able to do, marketing her, getting her on the Jimmy Fallon show, getting her on Jimmy Kimmel, getting her, on E, getting her, across these lines. She's been seeing right now, and that is Ronda Rousey in her prime and completely busting through what people thought UFC fighters' capabilities were as far as mass media stardom, becoming a household name. She's way bigger than Conor McGregor. She's way bigger than Chuck Liddell. And you're right, way bigger than Dana White, Brock Lesnar. I mean, she's the one. So I'm a big fan. A lot of people, again, in mixed martial arts, I keep saying it because anytime you post a Ronda Rousey article, you were just saying you guys did your 30 days of Ronda Rousey.
Still going on, by the way.
They're like, why? Oh, you think we really need to hear more about Ronda Rousey, blah, blah, blah. I just can't believe that these people cannot see what they're missing right now and cannot see, like, what is happening with their sport. If you're a true fan of mixed martial arts and you want to see this sport grow and you want to see it truly become mainstream just like the NFL is, just like soccer is around the world, get behind Ronda Rousey. Talk about Ronda Rousey. Share those articles, okay? Share those interviews. Become a part of it. Because whether you're a part of it or not, well,
it's the revolution, and I've had fans come at me with our 30 days of Ronda, and we're the only site that's done that, by the way. And there's been a lot of hate to it, and I can understand it, but I love your point of where this is the bit, and this has never been done. Period. No one's ever done this. Any type of athlete. Usually get it for football, basically. You get like all day 30 for 30, break down teams each day, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But this is for a particular athlete, just an athlete in general.
Yeah. Who can change the sport? People want to complain about fighter pay. How about you get more fighters to come in and watch UFC fighters coming through Ronda Rousey, right? Coming through the Ronda Rousey hype train. They see Joanna Jedrzejczyk. They see Mark Hunt. Now they're a fan. Now other fighters are getting paid more. See how that all makes sense? The UFC grows their market. They get more money. Now they can pay the fighters more. The people just don't see that deep.
Fighter pay. We can get into that at another time. That's a whole other issue for a whole other. But I agree with the premise of where you're going with that. And You were talking about someone, people criticizing the fight she's been in, and I even was a little critical of the Betch Correia fight. Did Betch really deserve it? Probably not. Did Holly Holm really deserve this fight? I still thought Holly was at least one. I thought she was one fight away. I would have went with the Misha rematch, but this fight is here. We knew it was going to happen, and you said it. And this will be her toughest test.
Yes.
I wrote a piece that should be out, I think, tomorrow, later tonight or early sometime tomorrow, on her Ronda's best fights. And I watched them all. Watched them all yesterday, and I watched the rest of them today. And I've noticed and then I imagine you've noticed these same things. She's gotten better, but she's still sloppy in a lot of ways if you look at her just overall as a fighter. She always rushes in. That one fighter is she's going to rush it, and she's going to get clocked. This is going to be the fight that happens. Just that reach that Holm has the reach advantage. As soon as Rousey comes in, I'm popping the jab. Or I wouldn't even throw a kick. I'm just going to pop that jab. Keep her at distance. Rousey likes to leave her chin up. You leave your freaking chin up, you are going to get rocked. She did it again in the Correia fight. Numerous times in the Miesha Tate fight. Miesha Tate just doesn't have enough power, where Holly Holm has that power with her feet and with her hands. Holly Holm's won fights by head kick knockout. She's won them with her hands. She's won them with her feet. In boxing and in MMA. There's a lot of holes still. Her striking, is it good? Rousey's, it's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. Holm's got better striking. If Holly Holm can keep this fight on the feet, not get taken down, if she gets taken down once or twice, she's fine. But she keeps getting taken down like Miesha Tate did in that second fight, Rousey's going to win this fight. She's going to win it without a problem. But this will be Ronda Rousey's toughest test to date, and you can book that.
I also think it's going to be Ronda Rousey's toughest test to date, but I think for different reasons. You said Ronda Rousey's striking is good, not great. I disagree. I think for a female fighter, she's one of the greatest strikers in MMA history. I don't think that many females have ever had the hands and the aggression that Ronda Rousey has. Now, is it a little sloppy? Yeah, is any fighter, can any fighter get a little sloppy? Absolutely. She's very, very aggressive, and she gets to it. She's finishing these girls. A lot of these fighters she's fighting do not have one-punch KO power. You could respond differently as an athlete. Now, I think Holly Holm needs to do a little bit of a different thing than you said. You were saying you didn't want her kicking. I do want her kicking. You were saying you wanted her planting her feet, throwing that jab. I don't want her planting her feet as much. She needs to throw that jab, but she needs to move laterally.
Exactly.
What Holly Holm has, which other girls don't have, is she has footwork and movement. The product of Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn. What they teach is to continually move. They know how to break the clinch really well. I mean, she's training with Izzy. This is the guy who's John Jones' wrestling coach. They are going to be ready for Ronda Rousey's takedowns. They are going to be ready for those simple trips. They're going to be ready to not rush forward, because what a lot of girls have done is they thought like you. They thought Ronda Rousey likes to bang. I'm going to come right at her. I'm going to try to just get in a firefight with her and drop her with a right hand. The problem with that is when you're moving forward against the judoka, you're going to get thrown on your freaking head. And what Holly Holm is not going to do is move forward like that. She's going to fight going backwards, fight going to the right, fight going to the left. Every time she's on that fence, you have to tell Holly Holm that fence is electric. Off a dull fight. People wanted her to have more fights inside the UFC because she hasn't finished anybody. That's fine. I don't mind her not finishing these fights, because you know what? That's the best style to have against Ronda Rousey. Take Ronda into round 3. Take Ronda into round 5. We've never seen that happen. I want to see a fighter who can survive, who cannot get hit. What Holly Holm, maybe she's not knocking these other girls out, but is she getting tagged with big shots? Not often. Not often at all. How many times has she been taken down in her MMA career? Boom, 0 times, right? So, I mean, this is truly a phenomenal contrast from Ronda Rousey's other opponents, and that's why I think this is such a dangerous fight for Ronda. Do I have Ronda winning the fight? Absolutely, but not in the first round like most people. Most people think it's going to be under 30 seconds, but I think Holly Holm's style is not like that. She's going to move. She's going to make Ronda miss. She's going to kick her in the body, kick her in the legs, kick her in the head, and make her work. a lot of guys and girls don't throw kicks because of the takedowns. That's not necessarily Ronda's style. Ronda likes to clinch, hold the upper body. Get a hold of the upper body, and then I think Holm's going to give her a hell of a fight. She needs to move, fight like TJ Dillashaw, fight like Dominic Cruz, not fight like a fighter who's going to come forward for the KO.
No, she's not going to do that. And I meant to say that she's going to move. And I wrote that in the Keys to Victory piece that just went up right before we started the podcast. And she's got to use lateral movement. The fight that reminds me of the Carlos Condit Nick Diaz fight. And if she does, I think if she implements that game plan like Condit did, she can win this fight. Because Nick Diaz is like Ronda Rousey. They've trained together in the past. Holm trains with Condit down at Jackson Winklejohn. That lateral movement. And I meant I wouldn't like throw kicks in the opening sequence, is what I meant to say. I would pop that jab to start the fight, just to keep Ronda off, get set, and then use your lateral movement, move side to side, come in with combinations, get in, get out, get set, and use your lateral movement. Cut off the cage, cut off the octagon, use angles. That's going to be the key to Holly Holm winning this fight. Can she do it? That is going to be the question. I think this fight goes to a decision. I don't think this ends by stoppage.
Wow.
I really don't. If Holly Holm's going to win this fight, it's going to be by decision.
I could see it. I could see it. But I just don't think that
Ronda's never been 5 rounds.
Holly Holm it has enough to. I don't think Holly Holm has enough in her arsenal to win 3 out of 5, but I could see her making it a long fight, like you're saying.
It could be a long. She's gone 5 rounds before, and I think she has an advantage in that aspect as well. She has the stamina to go 5 rounds.
Absolutely.
Ronda got very tired. I watched that second Miesha Tate fight earlier. She got tired near the end of that second round, and even going into that third round. She finished the fight. She sealed the deal in the third. But if that fight goes any longer, I think Miesha Tate had better odds of winning that fight. I think if I want to see Rousey's medal, can she go 5 rounds? Let's see her test it. She really, beyond Miesha, no one, like you said, Mike, no one's tested her. I think the lateral movement, I could see a head kick knockout here. If it's going to be a stoppage, for Holly Holm, she'll win by head kick.
I agree.
She's done it before.
If Holly Holm is going to stop the fight, it's head kick.
I think Ronda wins the fight. I'm going to go with Ronda, but I'm going to say this now. If you want to bet some money, Holly Holm is a very healthy underdog. Want to make a little cash? Definitely put some money on Holly Holm. We were talking about the co-main Joanna Jedrzejczyk against Valerie Letourneau. I love this fight because you got 2 girls that have Jedrzejczyk with the Muay Thai background and Letourneau with the kickboxing background. This fight's not going to the ground. Letourneau, she's got some pretty good jiu-jitsu. Her jiu-jitsu is not the best, but it's also not the worst. So that's the one advantage she has in the fight. But Jedrzejczyk's an assassin.
Mm-hmm.
That she throws and just throws, quick combinations. Takedown defense is very good. You've seen in the fight with Carla Esparza and Jessica Penne. Chicks try to take her down. That hasn't worked. But this is a girl who's got good kickboxing, has good striking. I think Jedrzejczyk wins the fight, but I think this is going to be a better fight than the 21-1 underdog Letourneau that people make it out to be. 21-1 is ridiculous, by the way.
I think Joanna's going to wreck her. I thought Valerie looked good in her last fight, absolutely. But I think Joanna Jedrzejczyk is going to finish her. She's going to use her Muay Thai and takedown defense and get her out of there. And I also, by the way, just since I didn't say my pick, I think Ronda Rousey will win by armbar. I've got Ronda armbar, maybe round 3, and I've got Joanna Jedrzejczyk by TKO. We'll give Joanna round 3 too. I think the girls aren't going to win championships. I
forgot to give mine Ronda. You know what? I'm going 4th round.
Okay.
I think we go into deep waters here. I think that it's going to be interesting. I think Jedrzejczyk, I go with you 3rd round TKO or 3rd round knockout.
Gotcha. So Joanna Jedrzejczyk TKO in the 3rd. Ronda by what in the 4th?
Oh, she's going to win by armbar. She's gonna win. But if Holly Holm wins, do not be. I'm just saying, if Holly Holm wins, do not be surprised, because I definitely will not be surprised by that aspect. And you were talking about earlier about, Jedrzejczyk on this card, building. She's already getting to star level. This can put her into superstar level. Being on a card like this, this is a big card. She's getting a lot. She did the ESPN car wash with Ronda recently. More people are on the Jedrzejczyk train. A great showing here. I'm telling you, man, we could have 2 female superstars on our hands, and I think that is nothing but good for mixed martial arts.
I think we do have 2 female superstars on our hands, and yeah, it is great for mixed martial arts. They're so dominant. Both Joanna Jedrzejczyk and Ronda Rousey are 2 of the most dominant athletes the sport of mixed martial arts has ever seen, and I'm completely serious when I say that. Even Joanna, I mean, wow, how good is her striking? I had no idea a 115 pound girl could strike like that. That is just phenomenal.
The striking's dirty. It's flat out dirty.
Yeah.
You don't, like you said, you don't see that at 115. You don't see that anywhere. That type of quick hands. You don't.
And the combination. Bop, bop, bop. She'll get the girl's hands up and then wham with the low kicks coming in. Oh, the leg turns. They start turning away. You know the low kick turn where, and the leg goes out from under them. You want to start with those, and you see it mentally. Like if I can't take this girl down, I might be screwed, and then Joanna smells that, and she's a finisher. So yeah, she is nasty to watch. It's
that Muay Thai background. She's had over 100 career Muay Thai fights. The Muay Thai background is the reason that just repetitive, like you said, repetitiveness of the knee, like, of the punches and the kicks in the knees. Yeah. It's just that repetitive background. And let's get you said Mark Hunt, Bigfoot Silva. When we kick that off, we'll end with this. I love this fight. The epic fight from 2013, fight of the year, fight of the century, the best heavyweight fight I've ever seen was this fight. This fight was absolutely fantastic. It went to a draw. I go Mark Hunt here, though. In his own backyard, working with the guys at AKA Thailand. He looks great. He looks lean. Yes, Mark Hunt looks somewhat lean. I've seen like a 4-pack on Mark Hunt, so he's looking but no, Mark Hunt's got a lot to prove here. The Beach guys 1-2 in their last 3 since they last fought. But you look at the competition that Hunt's fought, though. Verdum and Nelson. He won a round from Fabricio. He won the first round against Fabricio Verdum. He doesn't make that mistake with the knee. Mark Hunt could be the heavyweight champion of the world right now. It could be a totally different ball game. But this is a great fight, though. I think it's going to be another war. Mark Hunt gets it done, though. I haven't seen the top flight heavyweights against Bigfoot Silva. They crush him. And I think this is going to be no different.
Yeah, and we were talking about, of course, testosterone replacement therapy. The short is TRT with Vitor Belfort, and that's what that's what Bigfoot Silva's been dealing with. I don't know if they have him completely off of it. Whatever the deal is, but that was the new rule. And of course, Big's last couple fights, he's really been on the wrong side of speed. People are using their ability to close the distance before he can react to finish him off. So I do think Mark Hunt takes this fight, and you are right. Stipe Miocic and Fabricio Verdum perhaps are the 2 greatest fighters in the world, and he fought them both. So I think that that Mark Hunt is going to have a big showing in his home country, and he's going to come away with a finish. I would say he puts Bigfoot Silva away, perhaps towards the end of the first round. I'll say about 4 minutes in, he gets that left hook landed on the chin, and this one will be over. Are you calling a walk-off knockout? What I want to know. Is he walking off? I am. I'm calling it. He's going to hit him, and he's not even going to watch the body. He's gonna crumble like Chris Tusher. He's just gonna stroll away. Too excited. He's gonna crush like that left hand knockoff like he did to Chris Tusher at UFC 126 a long time ago. But no, that's good. I agree. Mark Hunt, he looks healthy. He's taking this fight. He's losing weight. He's working at a great gym, the AKA affiliate out in Thailand. A lot of great guys out there. So we're going to see Mark Hunt 3.0, I think. I think we're going to really see a great Mark Hunt coming up here. And I think Mark Hunt gets himself
right back in the picture in heavyweight contention. But final question, buy rate time. Big show, 2 title fights, the biggest draw in the sport, the biggest name in the sport, one of the biggest athletes in the world. Give me a number. What does UFC 193 do on Saturday night?
Well, geez, I don't commonly look at all of the numbers, so it's hard for me to say, but I would think it's one of the biggest cards. I would think that that this cracks into, for sure, a top 10 UFC card of all time. Do I think it's going to beat, Conor McGregor? Do I think it's going to beat Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen? I don't know. Because a lot of the viewers are actually not paying pay-per-views. A lot of the viewers internationally don't do pay-per-views, and I learned that, and that's interesting. So, because obviously Ronda Rousey is such an international star, do I think it's a huge pay-per-view? Yes. I think it's a top 10 pay-per-view UFC all time.
Oh, you got to give me a number. Let's see. She's
done
better than McGregor. She has the biggest buy rate of the year. It was about 900,000. She's done the biggest buy rate this year. I think she does. I'm going 1.3 million. She's got that reach. You got 2 women's title fights, 70,000 seats. I think 1.3. I think that's what the number is going to be.
I agree. No, I could see it breaking 1 million 100%. Yeah, it will break 1 million buys. Before we hop off, Steve, I wanted to give a shout out to MMA pioneer and legend Crow Cop Mirko Filipovic has retired from the sport of mixed martial arts. It's sad to see him go. I wanted to say thank you, Crow Cop, for all those awesome fights we got to see back in Pride. I mean, Fedor versus Crow Cop was like, the biggest thing that happened to me when I was a kid.
Biggest thing since sliced bread. I definitely understand that one. Love that fight.
Yeah, I mean, and I just think that that Crow Cop, truly has a place in the history of MMA here, especially back when the UFC was combining with Pride. He was perhaps, top 2, top 3 guys who, everybody wanted to see how they would do and were wondering if Crow Cop perhaps was the best fighter in the world. If not, was, always one of the top fighters in the world. And fought, kickboxing and Pride and the UFC. I mean, he'll fight you anywhere. He's a politician too, of course, in Croatia. So a lot of my hats off to him. And, he's really a guy who tried to push his career far too. He fought Alistair Overeem when Alistair was roided out. He fought anybody. And, he's truly a legend and somebody to remember in the sport of mixed martial arts. So thank you for all your fights, Crow Cop. And I've always been a fan.
Love Mirko Crow Cop. Good way to end that too. That until we were talking about Hunt and Silva, the best heavyweight fight ever at the time was Fedor and Mirko Crow Cop in Pride in 2005. And
the biggest, that fight, the biggest like high level where you knew the 2 best fighters in the world were getting in the ring.
Exactly. And, like you said, Pride Grand Prix champion, the who's who, Nogueira, Barnett, Emelianenko, Overeem. He's faced the who's who in mixed martial arts, right kick hospital, left kick cemetery, just that left high kick, the most brutal finishing maneuver I am in the stand-up area that I had seen in all of mixed martial arts. And definitely a legend, definitely will be missed. Without a doubt, a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all time, a great career. Sucks but he went out on top. He went out with a victory. And you know what? A lot of guys in combat sports don't get that. So he is one of those few that will walk out on top. And mad props to Mirko Crow Cop and knowing when to walk away. When, Mike, a lot of fighters don't know when enough is enough.
Absolutely. No, I mean, and he was dealing with a lot of injuries. I don't know if you were reading what he was saying. Dealing with the man fighters through and through. So thank you for all the fights, Mirko.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you to Mirko Crow Cop. And you don't forget UFC 193 Saturday night from the 70,000 seat Etihad Stadium in Melbourne, Australia. Ronda Rousey, Holm, the UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship of the World. In the co-main event, another title fight for the UFC Women's Strawweight title. Champion Joanna Jedrzejczyk will be squaring off against Valerie Letourneau. Like we said, Mark Hunt against Bigfoot Silva 2. Robert Whittaker, Uriah Hall, that it has fireworks written all over it. And a good way to kick off the main card, Stefan Struve against Jake Rochelle in heavyweight action, live and only on pay-per-view at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, and 7 Pacific. Where are you watching the fights at, Mike?
Well, Energy MMA is actually at Corkscrew Point. They're like doing a combo thing.
Okay.
So I'm either going to be there since my but either way I'll be with some people where I can hype it up for them. I'm like the live Joe Rogan on the broadcast, but when people got questions around the couch, I'm the guy to help them out and get everybody psyched up for the fights. So I'm gonna have to watch some fights live with you sometime, Steve.
We will definitely. Man, you give me some good ideas. We'll definitely talk shop on that one. But no, I'm really looking forward to that card on Saturday night. That card is going to be insane. I am definitely looking forward to it. Mike, where can the fans find you on Twitter? Where can they find the Mike Fitch Minute? Next time you're commentating, the floor is yours.
The XFO is going to be at the UIC Pavilion. I'm the color commentator for the XFO. It's going to be on the 21st of November here. Some big fights. Drew McFedries is fighting. Corey Galloway has a big fight. I wish I could remember his opponent's name off the top of my head. Joey Deal is fighting. Really, really excellent card for the XFO is putting on. Of course, we're sending those fights over to UFC Fight Pass. And for me, you guys can find me Facebook.com/Mike Finch MMA or YouTube.com/Mike2 Finch. I'll try to get it all Mike Finch MMA. Sorry, I've been being lazy on that, guys. And keep up to date with Steve, too. He's killing it on the articles, Steve. I keep reading your articles on Sporting News. Got some content there, my man.
Steve,
did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I'm listening. I'm listening to your handsome voice. You got that nice announcer's voice. And where can the fans find? And where can the fans find your other show? You got a show on the Chicago MMA Hour. Where can the fans find that?
Right. Well, sportstownchicago.com, but we're also actually going to be on chicagosmma.com. That's run by Matt Locascio, who is actually the other commentator for the XFO. A little bit of inside info for you podcast listeners. So he's running chicagosmma.com, and then Chicago's MMA Hour is something I do at Illinois Media School, and we are broadcasting that live on Sportstown Chicago. But for you guys who are watching through the internet, chicagosmma.com, it will be up next week, and we'll be doing that every single Friday, so make sure to tune into that as well. Thank you for the plug, Steve. No,
absolutely, and I know Matt's a great guy, and I love local MMA, and Matt's one of the guys. You and Matt are right on top of a great commentating team for the XFO. Don't forget XFO next week at the UIC Pavilion. I was going to go until there's a big boxing card I have to cover, Miguel Cotto and Saul Canelo Alvarez. So, but I will definitely let me know how that goes. I'll definitely watch the fights on YouTube and UFC Fight Pass when they are put up. You can find, and thank you for the kind words as well. Tons of articles. I don't have enough time in the day to list them all where they're at. The Keys to Victory piece just went out, but got a best of Ronda Rousey coming up soon as well. Another interview with Holm, Valerie, Letourneau, Joanna, Jedrzejczyk. 5 reasons to watch UFC 193 and a bunch of other past stuff leading up to this historic card on Saturday night from Etihad Stadium in Melbourne, Australia. Find me on Twitter at SMuehlhausen MMA, MUEHLHAUSEN. If you illiterate people out there, and there are plenty of you, I'm sorry, but that is godforsaken truth. And you can find this podcast. Find us on Twitter. Find us at Fight Game Pod. YouTube channel. Subscribe. We need more subscribers. Please stop being lazy. Hit that subscribe button. It's not that difficult. Take your mouse, or you have these touch screen computers now. Bam. Click subscribe. Boom. You're done. You can know when we do videos and podcasts as well. We're on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher. Download, subscribe. Do it now, or Mike will put you in a guillotine. I like that guillotine choke finish, by the way. That was a mounted guillotine. That was very nice.
Thank you, man. Yeah, actually, Melanie's phone died right before you guys saw the tap. But yeah, I got a mounted guillotine there in my first match of the night. So that was fun. I should have had a videographer come out. I keep doing these grappling tournaments, and then like my friend's phone dies or something, and nobody gets to see the rest of my matches. We'll get like the first 1 or 2, and I don't get to see them. So
get them out there, Finch.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys could also appreciate it. We'll be back next week with the Fight Game podcast.
Yes, we will be back next week. We will recap UFC 193. We got the Mexico card coming up the following week with that next week as well. Kelvin Gastelum and Chicago's own Neil Magny, and another Chicago guy, Ricardo Lamas, scoring off with the one and only Diego Sanchez in his debut at 145 pounds. For the handsome Mike Finch, for the ugly looking Steve Milhausen, we'll see you at the fights.